guys, what's going on? It's Dave the Drummer here. Final episode of the Talking Drum TV. Want to thank you guys for following us and staying with us the whole year. We've done a whole year almost of episodes, and it's been fantastic to bring to you all these interviews with all these different drummers, so many personalities, so many different life philosophies, and so many different talents that these individuals have shared with us, talked to us about in great links, and it's been fantastic having them on. I wanted to finish off this season with my favorite clips from the past season of Talking Drum TV over the past year that we've done. So why don't we go ahead and get started with that? I'm looking forward to not only presenting you that, but a very special musical performance at the very end. Something that I'm really jazzed to share with you guys. So when we get to that, so I'm really looking forward to sharing that musical performance with you guys. Anyways, let's get started with that episode. Let's get started with this episode of the best of Dave's Choice. Let's take it away. Do you have a pet, or do you have a family pet back, with your parents or whatnot?
I don't. I move around too often. My parents, when I was growing up, they moved every 6 months to a year, so
right.
we never really had pets very long. We had a couple cats at some point. But, no pet. I would like them.
No, this town is a really big, everybody loves the pets here. I see a lot of people out walking their dogs, and some people walk their cats. I was at the swap meet yesterday, and somebody had their 6-month-old iguana like lashed onto their shirt like a necklace or something like that. It was really cool. Their iguana was just totally chill with it. But this town, is really big into animals. I think that I grew a really big appreciation for cats. Just living in this area, just because I met my girlfriend through here, and a couple people that I knew had some awesome cats that I just got buddies with, and kind of opened me up a little more to just like animals overall in general. But that's why this question is kind of out there. What's your favorite food, and who makes it the best? Like, bottom line,
I realized actually just the other day that when I say food, I intrinsically just mean Mexican food, because that's what I grew up with. So usually if I want to get Chinese food, I have to qualify that Chinese food or pizza or something. But
sure.
if I just say food, it automatically means Mexican food.
Yeah.
I go a Mexican food probably 90% of the time.
Yeah.
In town, I don't know who makes it the best.
Well, just overall, like your grandma, who is the one that you're just like, I will eat it every time?
Well, my grandma, obviously. My abuelita, she makes the greatest quesadillas in the world.
Yeah.
But in town, if I was going to get a burrito, I'd probably go to Tacos Morenos.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good choice. I love those guys. I've been going there for a long time, too.
Good burritos.
Yeah. Yeah, they used to have one up on UCSC, but I think they tore it down and made it into a Rivas or something. It broke my heart when I saw it. The first time I saw it, I was like, I disapprove of this totally. But that's just the changing of the times, things like that.
Rivas makes a good quesadilla too, though.
Yeah, they're alright, but I really was like fond of Tacos Morenos. I still am. I still try to go there as much as I can. So for the final question, what would you do for a Klondike bar?
I'd play the shit out of the drums. Why not?
I think that's a pretty good way to earn, a Klondike bar. I personally think.
Burn some calories, and then you get
that's right.
You get a cheat after.
Put them back on, dude. You put them right back on.
Is there a particular stick that you're really fond of?
I always went for Vic first, and then I bought ProMark one time, and I was like, "Dang, these are rad." I think it was just the change it felt different, it felt good.
Right.
But
right.
I think it's ProMark and Vic.
Very cool.
First, yeah.
Very cool. Do you have any inspiring drummers, like people that kind of like motivate you, kind of like guys that or just drummers in general that just move you?
Yeah, there's a couple. There's a bunch. There's the jazz drummer Max Roach, obviously very.
Oh
good.
yeah. Oh.
There's what's his name? Horacio Hernandez, El Negro, I think they call him. He's a gnarly Latin player that I really admire. Steve Gadd, of course, and
oh yeah. My dad, personal favorite.
Yeah, he's rad.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this new guy named Anderson Paak. He's from Malibu, Los Angeles area. He killed it. He's like a rapper.
Oh, yeah.
He's like drumming
Metal drummers,
I
right?
do, I
Any
do.
particular metal drummers that you're really
Oh
fond of?
man, Richard Christie, Gene Hoglan.
Richard Christie of Howard Stern.
Yes.
Oh,
Absolutely.
yeah.
He's the one
Iced Earth.
one of the Iced Earth,
Yeah.
one of the Death drummers. So yeah, he's awesome. I don't know, all like the Lombardo, all those Mickey D, all like the all the classic guys for sure.
Is there anybody outside of metal that you're just a huge fan of, and it just sort of like maybe has blended itself a little bit to your playing?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm Josh Freeze I'm really into Josh Freeze.
Vandals and
Vandals, Devo.
play with everybody.
He's a good session
Yeah.
guy. Yeah.
Is there anybody in drumming that you would call the best drummer, like hands down? Like somebody you're just like, I could just hear him all day. Because some people are like, I'm a really big Bonham guy. Some people are like, I'm a really big Stuart Copeland guy. I'm really another big. I'm a Bruford guy, so I could listen to his stuff like all day long.
I mean, like on that same note, I mean Danny Carey, obviously.
Yeah.
Like, he just like he just does some really smart stuff, and I mean just whoever's like keeping it fresh, and I mean it's there's always like a lot of good drummers, so it's hard to like pigeonhole and pinpoint the best out. It's just depending on the type of music you're listening to. There's a lot of really good guys that that I love listening to. So that's another hard one.
Yeah. Kit, like what are you using right now currently?
Tama, like stars. I forget what it is. It's Tama. It's a big one. It's like a 22 kick, 12 rack tom, and then like a 16 floor tom. It's a pretty big kit, so it's a pretty loud one.
Right. And you've been using that for?
Yeah, I've had it for quite a while. Yeah. I've had it for about 10 years now. So
Let's talk about drumsticks for just a second.
Sure.
What do you have a preferred size? Is there a type of grip that you're really fond of?
I mean, I play 8Ds, so it's a kind of in between a little bit. You can make a loud noise with it, or you can pull it back and play it quiet.
Lastly, is there like passions that you're sort of like your like hobbies, things you're really into? Like for me, people know that I'm like a huge DDR fanatic. I literally just played, showered, and just came right over to film this thing. And I literally will play it any waking second I can get a chance to. So
I can tell you, like, it's mainly working and job, and to support myself to do that. I like to go on bike rides, whatever anybody else does in their free time,
Right.
But drumming really is, try to make that a priority as much as I can.
Oh no, I totally respect that. I think that it's good that you gotta have some things to unwind. Bike riding being one of those things. I mean, you get so lost, doing those things, but in like a good way, especially riding up like upper campus at UCSC. I mean, I've had many times where I've just been so stressed out, and riding up there, you're just mentally, you're lost, and you love it.
Yeah.
They got this CD that they
CD is
just
out.
tell them about the CD.
Yeah, man. Ourselves recorded here in our studio here in Santa Cruz. Really proud. I produced it, mixed it, and we did everything. It's all original music too. So that's something we've been working really hard on. We've been writing music together since we started playing together 3 years ago. So I feel like this is really the culmination of all that time that we've been playing together. And the band's kind of changed over the years. We've added a few members, so this kind of reflects all that too. Definitely the point. I want to make a nice listening experience for people.
Right.
I'm really into the concept of albums and full musical statements, or whatever you want to call it. Listening to a full record. So it's my intention to, if people were to sit back and kind of listen to it front to back, that's kind of my dreams come true. If people will give it a full, give it the full listen to, and kind of try to take it in as like an artistic statement,
Right,
definitely
right.
a snapshot of what we've been doing for a while.
Absolutely. So, tell me something. You had told me before about the person who actually came up with the logo, and I think it's a really interesting story. And I was wondering if you could share it with me.
Yeah, absolutely.
share it with
She's a local artist. She's really great. Her name is Selena Zantos, and her art name is Scavenge. with a K, like SK. Scabbard, she's a really cool lady. I met her through some local friends of mine. A couple of my friends run Lemon Tree and the Most Funky Click.
Shout out to Lemon Tree.
Yeah, shout out to Lemon Tree and the boys. But just being from around here, I have a lot of friends that do artwork and different graphic design. So when Light the Band started, when we started doing our thing, getting our name together and getting our stuff together, we started looking for someone to do art, and she was a friend of mine who I know, so we contracted her to do some different logos for us.
Yeah.
And there's kind of a big story behind the story of Light the Band, and it kind of has to do with kind of some family members passing away and kind of using, the passing of some loved ones to kind of as an excuse to create and kind of, I guess, be more artistic. That's kind of always been the fuel of our band. That's the way I started it.
Absolutely,
so,
absolutely. I asked you to share the story with me because I can totally relate. I started picking up drums more seriously after I lost my dad, but it's the ability to turn tragedy into things of strength and power, and it ultimately is glory, because it's a thing that makes you feel empowered. This is something special that you can do, and your friend, same thing. Anybody that can kind of turn that loss into a positive, I mean, big ups on them.
Yeah, I think the best way to honor people that pass away is to create for them, whatever it may be.
Absolutely. So, how can the fans get a hold of the CD, or at least get it? I'm sure you guys
SoundCloud, Bandcamp, iTunes, Rhapsody, Spotify.
I was talking with Jimmy, and I grew up in a household that listened to tons of Santana all the time, playing on a vinyl player, and so I'm very familiar with Chiquito and his work, and he's a dynamite player. He is probably, you have Michael Shreve, who's an amazing drummer, and I take nothing away from him, but it is the timbale playing that is so explosive, that really kind of is an exclamation point in all the percussion and the music. And so to play with Chiquito, that must have been a great honor.
Oh, of course, yeah. It was when I was up on stage with him. It just felt magical.
Right.
I couldn't believe I was with the Rock and Roll Hall of Famer himself, right there.
Definitely.
That was a really good moment.
Yeah.
And it was just awesome.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Awesome. What are you big into?
What am I?
Well, like video game wise.
Oh, Grand Theft Auto, Black Ops 2.
Yeah.
all those good games.
Are you PS4 guy? Are you Xbox One? PS4.
PS4, all the way.
Do you have a Pro or just like a Slim?
A Slim.
Slim?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do too. Yeah, my house.
That's the way to go.
I talked about it last episode, or maybe I didn't, but I've been playing Mafia 3 like just when robbing me and someone's sleep, and I finally beat it. And it feels so good to get that monkey off my back. But it feels really good when you've something is just like inside your brain, and you're just like, I need to beat this thing and get it out of my life, because it's just going to take too much from me.
It's some relief right there, huh?
It is.
Yeah.
It is, most definitely.
Yeah.
Do you have would you like to share your PS4 gamer tag with people, and like whoever like finds you out on this is like gonna add you and like want to play some like Black Ops?
Oh yeah, you can add me at Charles Dab, DAAB. That's my namer tag.
It's your gamer tag.
Yeah. It's a funny name. Everyone makes fun of it. But,
I like it.
It's unique,
funny one too.
so I was like, hey, why not?
Yeah.
I just named it Charles Dab. So.
I am Elephant Talk 83. Elephant Talk being a King Crimson song. So, but Elephant Talk, people would just be like, well, what's the deal with that? It's kind of, it's a funny name too.
You gotta add me.
Yeah. We'll add each other definitely. Yeah. And it's really cool to be able to have that kind of connection. It's not just drumming and growing up, in similar kind of backgrounds. Jimmy and myself are both Chicanos. We're both California-born Mexican drummers.
That's right.
And so that circle it's not very big, in all honesty. So it's good to kind of get everybody together, even non-Hispanic drummers. That's why this show is about, is bringing just drummers in on a universal circle,
But I also got a Korg Mini-Log, which is a true analog synthesizer, and that's blowing my mind because I've never had a real analog synth. So now my studio, I got 4 keyboards in there. It's kind of funny because I always used to be not a keyboard person. I was like a guitar person, right? But
turned into Rick Wakeman over there.
Yeah, well, we won't go that far, but yeah. I promise myself on any instrument I will never go weedla 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 or thugada boogada or thwackada wackada thwackada wackada. We're going to leave that to the metal
thwackada wackada?
folks.
What do you do to unwind? Like, let's say you're just wanting a nice quiet day. Maybe you at home with the wife. What do you want to do to just?
We're kind of Anglophiles. We watch a hell of a lot of British episodic. We watch
Doctor Who?
mysteries and just everything.
Any Doctor Who?
Yeah. My wife is a fanatic Doctor Who fan. I like Doctor Who, but I'm not fanatic, but I watch it with her a lot.
Exact same thing with me and my girlfriend.
Yeah,
like she's huge into it, and I watched it. That's actually how we got together.
So we do that, and then I really love to play pool, and
that's right.
There's nothing better than have a Jameson with one thing of ice and to play a game of pool with my buddies. A couple of who are out there, you can't see them, but they're out there.
No, I can't remember.
And we take very long walks.
Yeah, I can't remember how many times we've played pool together, but we always had a good time, always had good talks, and Rush, it's got a special place in my heart. What can I say? Where can people find more of your music, or maybe you have a website, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
You have a website. What is your website's address?
Okay, it's my moniker as a looping artist is Loop Pool, which is a palindrome, a pool of loops. Loop Pool, LOOPPOOL, and then it's .info, info like information. So it's a 4-letter domain, not a 3-letter. So if you go to looppool.info, you can find me. If you put Rick Walker Live Looping and go to YouTube, there are all kinds of videos. If you go to YouTube and put just Loop Pool in, I have 30 lo-fi toy digital camera animation.
But we definitely appreciate you coming in and giving us so much of your time and so much of your story, because I think it's a damn interesting one. And for folks out there in Santa Cruz, I know you've probably seen Rick around. Again, it's not a very big town, so now you've got kind of the story on Rick Walker, somebody who I like to just call my friend.
Growing up in San Francisco and taking the bus around different parts of the city and getting to know people from different parts of the city, including some of the older Latino guys playing congas on the street corners in the Mission District.
Right.
Is where I first got turned on to hand drums and hand percussion, and the way that people play parts that fit together to create the groove.
Right. That is the kind of stories that we want to talk about and pull apart at length for the Talking Drum, because Jim has so much experience and he is a Santa Cruz guy. And this show, I was just explaining to the folks here at East Cliff Brewery, is that this show is ultimately about local people to Santa Cruz. I mean, if you're watching from outside Santa Cruz, that's awesome, but you're getting a look at Santa Cruz as it is right now through this show, because myself and Jim, we're both citizens of this town. We're both citizens of this area. We're both people, we're patrons of the arts, in the sense that we are both involved with making and creating things. And it doesn't have to necessarily even be music. It's just we are a part of something that is integral to Santa Cruz identity, I think, is that we put into the creative melding pot that which we got out of it, because I was just telling Jim before the show, this place has a very inspiring spirit, and it's definitely inspired the hell out of me. And Jim, I think, would totally agree with me on that.
Absolutely. This is the place for me to live. I've traveled 2 years in Africa, a year in Europe, 3 or 4 years touring around the country, the U.S. I always knew I'd end up back in California. As I said, I was raised in San Francisco. So I was coming up from a gig in L.A. and saw the sign for Santa Cruz, which I've always loved. Used to come down here in high school.
Right.
And always loved Santa Cruz. It was lunchtime. I was hungry, so I pulled off the road into downtown Santa Cruz. Pulled out the Front Street, the original old Catalyst on Front Street, walked in and literally said to myself, I am home.
There you
This
go.
is it. So I got my stuff out of storage in San Francisco, came down to Santa Cruz, set up shop as a percussionist.
Right.
And been here ever since.
Can you give me a year on when that when you made that jump?
Mid-70s.
Mid-70s. Good enough for me, because that gives a pretty solid picture of not only how long Jim's been here, but I mean the time frame that he was here in Santa Cruz. I mean, very special time. You know, we can only read about it now for folks that, you know, totally missed out on that. But at least there's folks like Jim that have a great oral story to tell about the time that he was here and the things that he'd seen. And this is ultimately why I had to have Jim come on the show.
As children, we learned by playing.
Right.
Then we grow old and older and get responsible and all that good stuff, and we forget how important playing is.
Yes.
We think, oh, well, I should go play today, but I don't have time.
Right.
It's more than I should. It's a must. A must. We humans are hardwired to have to play,
right,
to get together and create this energy together, this synergy together. From the time we danced around the fire and hit stuff and shook stuff and told stories and chanted together,
right,
to the modern day, we have to play. We are hardwired to have to play, have to celebrate, and have to get the endorphins going. It's like the barn raising effect.
Right.
We all get together and work together. It feels good. That's part of being a human being. It's part of what has allowed us to survive in all these different environments around the planet.
I agree. The feeling of being able to, I don't know, get just sort of take your mind to a different place just through creation, you know, just music in general, you know. I mean, maybe you're humming somebody else's song, doesn't matter, but you know, it's a comfort, you know, it's a human response thing that our body is hardwired to do, you know. So I mean, I feel exactly what you're saying, though. It has been a long year. It has been a very long year, and we have definitely had some fun. We've definitely learned about some really interesting individuals, definitely learned about a lot of different philosophies on life, and I think that's a good thing. That's what makes up a community. As big as Santa Cruz is, and that's what makes up a community, is the individuals around yourselves and learning how to live with all the differences between yourselves, but at the same time getting knowledgeable about what makes them different, but at the same time also learning what makes everybody, what can everybody unify around? What does everybody have in common? I think all these things are something that need to be explored and talked about more in the community. That's why this show, I think, is a great example of, well, frankly speaking, social media, you know, used, you know, done right. I think something like this is something that we should talk more about, is just having these dialogues, you know, peaceful dialogues that lead to something, enlightenment to individuals. So all we can hope for is in the future people take, you know, these cues and they're able to learn and run with them and to get the lesson. Because if we don't get the lesson in our generation, hopefully the next one will. Who knows? But we're definitely looking forward to the future. We're definitely looking forward to the next season of The Talking Drum. We're definitely looking forward to the podcast. Podcast, I'm sure, is up and running by now. I'm sure the podcast has been around for a couple of months now. We're really jazzed about the podcast. I'm pretty sure a good amount of you are listening to it, digging it, getting exposed to the show for the first time. So the interviews are a little dated, but I mean, you know, either way, the show, the concept, the spirit is still there. So that is what is most important. So I hope that you have enjoyed the show. I hope you will enjoy us in the episodes to come. I want to say thank you to everybody, to all the sponsors. I want to thank all of you who have not only tuned in, but have given your support, have been there to see the show at its beginnings all the way up to how we've gotten now. You know, it's been quite a journey, and we've still got a bit more to go. So be sure to check out all the episodes. Subscribe to the official Dave the Drummer YouTube channel. Be sure to check me out on Facebook and all the other social media, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram. Also check me out on SoundCloud, and be sure to check me out on Bandcamp. I will look forward to seeing you. Until next time,